big roster drop yesterday. Bold decisions, people said, that Mauro Biello made in calling this roster or in building this roster that's going to face Trinidad and Tobago on the 23rd of March. Crucial matchup to determine whether or not Canada is involved in Copa America. So what do you guys think? This is the youngest squad since 2019. 22 of 23 players are under 30 years old. Oso is the only player who is above 30. Are these really bold moves, brash moves by the interim gaffer, or is this just what was needed a long time ago? What do you think, Forrest?
I think it's what's needed. And I think you nailed it yesterday that it's not, I don't think it's all that bold. I think it's what's needed. I mean, Mauro discussed in the press conference about his need and his responsibility to push younger players through. I mean, the goal really for the team isn't necessarily, they want to get to Copa, of course, but that's not their goal. They've got to look to 26. And there's a few players, unfortunately, that are just at that age where they're not really going to feature in 26. So the ones that potentially are, we have to say we as Canada's national team have to have a look at other options. And I think it's a good squad of players.
I agree with you, Forrest. I think it was strategic. I think it's calculated. I like what they've done. There's a good balance between experience and youth. A bit of a transitional period. You've got a few older players that have moved on, and you've got to give them credit because they've done a hell of a job with this national team. But now it's nice to have that youth in there, those fresh blood and young faces coming into the squad. And I think we're going to rely heavily on the older experienced players going into this match against Trinidad. Alfonso Davies, Kyle Larin, Jonathan David, Estequio, Oso. You need these guys to step up for this match because they know what's at stake. This is a massive, massive game, and the older experienced heads are going to get through this game. They're the ones that are going to lead it. Because if we don't get to the Copa America, I think we failed massively. This is a great opportunity for us to get to this big stage where, as a player, and Dubs and Forrest, you guys know you want to play in these big tournaments. You want to play in the world stages. You want to test yourself against some of the biggest countries in the world, and we've got to get to this Copa America. We have to. It's a massive game for us.
I think it's a case of Mauro just saying, fuck it. Fuck it. You know what? I'm not playing politics anymore. I'm not going to appease anyone. I'm going to pick my squad. I don't know whether the job's mine or not. I think he's thinking, I'm going to do what is right for this squad right now. He kept saying on that press conference yesterday and the media availability, he kept saying how, it's his responsibility to start preparing for the future for 2026, as well as picking the best squad possible. And I think you can do both. I think he's done both.
Yeah.
Right. With respect to Steven Vitoria, who's fantastic over the years. He's old for a centre half. Borjan's
37, right? 37 and 36 respectively, those two guys.
Right.
Yeah. Do you know what? If you were a manager, so let me ask you all this. If you were in his position, would you not do what you wanted to do, knowing that you really got one shot at this, at getting this job full time? So do you play the politics, or do you go out there and say, you know what, I'm going to do what I want to do, and if I don't get the job, at least I've gone out on my terms? Would you not do the same thing?
I think it's that 100%, but I think it's less of a fuck it, and I think it's more of, this is what I need to do in order to ensure myself success as at the helm, but also to ensure that I've put together the best possible roster and team to get this over the line. I just think he's gotten to a point where it's about time. And Forrest, I was going to ask you, I think people have been clamoring for it, yourself included, for a long time, for Milan Borjan to cede that spot between the sticks and to finally give it over to Crépeau. So it's his net, is it not?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. I mean, Milan Borjan has been brilliant with the national team. We got to, like Jimmy says, give credit to some of these players who've done a really good job. He was a big part of that qualifying for the World Cup. But does come a time when you have to look forward, and he's getting to that age where you're looking for, somebody else to step up. And I think we're in really good hands. I like all the goalkeepers that have come in. I mean, you see the Montreal goalkeeper, 22-year-old Jonathan Soir.
Sirois.
So how do you pronounce it?
Sirois.
Sirois.
Like you're gonna sear meat.
Yeah.
Sirois.
How do you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it?
Can I buy a vowel?
Jonathan Sirois.
Jonathan
he's
Cirrhosis.
He's only been playing professional football for 3 years.
Jonathan Cirrhosis.
John
Actually, I think-
Cirrhosis of the Montreal Clubfoot.
Tony, in fairness, I was saying Sirois has only been around for 3 years playing professional football, right? So it's understandable why we wouldn't get his name right. But listen, Milan's 36, right? He's not necessarily over the hill. He's playing at Slavan Bratislava. There's every chance that a new manager comes in and decides, you know what? He's still playing the highest quality football right now. He's still my man. So
What, in Slovakia?
Well, let's have the debate, shall we? Is Slovakian top division football
What, ranked
higher or compared to
30th in
MLS?
the world? 30th in the World League, maybe?
Well, where's MLS?
12?
Is it
I
that
looked it up
obvious?
the other day. 14th, I thought it was. Just so you know. I did look these things up. And the Slovakian, Slovakian
Man.
I didn't see on the top 20.
Yeah, of course you didn't see it.
You're not going to see it.
Oh, Slavan Bratislava is though a big club though. We'll beat in
It's a big
Slovakia.
club for Slovakia.
Well,
I think you have to look at it too. I think Milan's personality. I don't know him, but from the outside looking in, does he seem like a guy, despite all he's contributed to the program from a leadership perspective, is he a guy that's going to come in knowing he's not going to be number one? I don't know if he's that guy.
Really good question.
What would your gut tell you, Dubs?
No.
That's why she brought it up.
Yeah.
I tend to agree.
Yeah. But Jimmy and
Let me answer my question.
That's
with
right.
my own answer.
Ask the host.
So I've
If
got
the
a great
question I
answer for this.
posed, I say no.
But that's the host though, Dubs. You get these great answers ready to go, and I'm going to frame my question so I get to look good.
Yeah.
I would have no problems with it. I would just like to be part of the team. If I got to the age where I was unable to be number one and be part of it and help the other lads.
Well, I was just about to ask you and Jimmy, when you guys were part of the national team, was there ever a time that you can pinpoint, or maybe not where you were coming up to a crucial matchup like this current team is and gives you a chance to play in Copa and runway to a World Cup that you're hosting? Obviously, you never lived that, but was there a time where there was a tipping point and there was a changing of the guard, as it were, in terms of the roster, where a lot of the older guys, the veterans, not yourself, got kind of not pushed aside, but new blood came into the squad?
Yeah, definitely. I remember guys like Ian Bridge, Carl Valentine, Dale Mitchell, guys like that, John Catliff, Colin Miller. They all have their times, and sort of it doesn't happen quickly. It just one player disappears, another one disappears, and it just sort of changes slowly. But there's constant change all the time, but nothing overly drastic, just players that are older and guys that are moving in. Jimmy was the youngest at one time, and then he was the oldest.
Seemingly overnight.
Yes.
Sideburns got a bit bigger.
It's the way that it goes. Like when I got into the national team, I was the youngest, I think, in the squad. And over that next few years, and Mark Watson, I think, ended up stepping down from the national team. Paul Pescisolito, Carlo Corzine, Nick Dasovic, Forrest. It was a good squad with some great older, experienced players that really helped the younger guys like myself, Mark Bircham. Who else was in it? Stolly was in there. So like all these younger guys, I mean, we learned an awful lot of those older heads, and then they passed the torch on to us, and then it was our job to carry the national team.
How'd that go?
Shite.
Yeah, went pear-shaped after that.
2 decades.
How about when you guys won? When you guys won the Gold Cup, do you remember the makeup of that roster? And was there that balance of youth and veteran leadership?
It's exactly what we had. We had the young guys it was myself, it was Paul Salteri, Jason Bent, Jeff Clark, I think Zauza. And then the older guys was Craig Forrest, it was Paul Pescisolito, Mark Watson, Paul Fennick. So we had a really good balance. We had some great experienced players, but then we also had a lot of young guns that had legs, could run for days. So it was good. It was a good balance.
I found it interesting. Mauro said on more than one occasion that the hunger had slipped in the recent camps, and that's what he really felt as being a reason to maybe changing the guard, so to speak. And, since qualifying for the World Cup and the World Cup, which we know wasn't great, the camps haven't been great results. There's been something missing there. So I mean, do you think is that telling on those that aren't there right now regarding the hunger? I don't see a guy like Milan Borjan, regardless whether you like him or not. He seems like a hungry kind of guy, a passionate kind of guy.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who's going to make a trip across the pond and come and play matches for your national team and not be hungry.
Okay.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do? Come out? Oh yeah, I'm going to go and fucking smoke a cigar and lay against the post.
If you could, you would, though, wouldn't you?
Actually,
if there was anybody that
In a
was going to
dressing
do
room.
that, it was Forrest.
if I could have a smoke on the goal line, it would be perfect as opposed to standing on the toilet seat in the bathroom.
Did you need that? Did you need the toilet seat, Craig? Surely you're tall enough just to lean out the window.
No, he needed it.
Yeah,
I witnessed it firsthand.
To get up to the vent.
Yeah.
the vet in Japan was really good.
We
Was that
it was the Confederation Cup. At halftime, we're playing against Japan. 0-0. Forrest is standing on his head. We thought it was probably one of the best performances we ever had. And I went into the washroom. And all of a sudden I hear, "Hey, Jimmy." I was like, "What?" I'm looking around. I can't see anything. And then I look above the stalls, and the big man's on top of the toilet. He goes, "Watch the door." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Watch the door." So I stand against the door. I'm pushing. I have no idea what's going on. And now all of a sudden I see him by the vent having a smoke.
And this is halftime?
Halftime.
Jesus Christ, Forrest.
And then he comes down.
We should have been 2-0 up. We should have been 2-0 up. I was fucking pissed off. We should.
He was so pissed. Then he washes his hands. And then he starts talking tactics to me, right? And I'm looking at him like, what the fuck did I just witness here? And then he's like, "Help me put my glove on." And then he puts a glove, and then we go for second half.
Hey, Craig,
How did that
was
one
that
end up?
We lost in the second half, but it was probably the best, I think, 45 minutes I think I've ever witnessed the Canadian national team play. It was ridiculous. We had a good squad back then.
Craig, the smoking, was that to calm your nerves at halftime, or were you just that addicted?
Well, a bit of both. Yeah.
Something else that Mauro talked about on that presser yesterday was a cultural reset. Like, not only that complacency had kind of snuck in since Qatar, but that with Milan moving out and Steven Vitoria moving out, that they were going to be looking to the leadership group to sort of change that. Who do you guys think ends up with the armband long term, and who do you think gets it versus Trinidad in this really important match?
That's a really good question.
Well, I mean, who are the candidates, right? So Ozo's TFC captain, but I don't think Ozo's guaranteed to start every game for Canada, right? I think you've got to have someone that's going to be in there in Sharpie every game, right?
Yes.
Fonzie's the best player, so naturally he'll be a candidate at least.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys tell me. I don't know. It's a great question. Is it Ashley Johnston?
Maybe he'll put it on. I mean, I've never been a big captain guy anyway, but maybe he'll put it on Alfonso. Give him that position a little bit of leadership role, and see how he.
Gregor, had you been the captain all the time, everybody on the team would be smoking. They'd all be in there going, "Oh fuck, Forrest lead by example."
Yeah.
We got to
Worst
get in
audio in CONCACAF.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Well, but who are the options though? So Fonzie, right? And Ozo mentioned there. Okay, John Davis playing great. I'm not sure whether he's a leader per se. Strikers, generally speaking, outside the truly great ones, don't always get the armband. Midfield, you got Stacchio, who is having a bit of a tough time at Porto right now, but he's going to walk into that starting midfield, I would think, every game. Kone's too young. You got Johnston, you got Richie, who's hurt right now.
Yep.
You help me out.
Stacchio would be a bad one, actually.
Stacchio would be good.
Speaks really well. Speaks well.
Yeah,
I think Fonzie would be good too, though. Give him the responsibility. You know, everybody question, when he's with the national team, he doesn't play the same way that he does in Bayern. But maybe if he has that responsibility now, where it's okay, buddy, you're one of the best players in the world, and you're going to lead this national team, and you're taking the responsibility on your shoulders now. So you make sure you perform week in and week out.
I like that shout, because oftentimes what he tends to do is, yes, it's an underperformance of sorts because we don't see him reach the heights that he does with Bayern, but it's almost like he's trying to do too much. So giving him the armband might be a way for him to kind of exhale, just say, I am the guy that they're looking to, but I need to share this responsibility, that I've got the armband and I've got the leadership group behind me, but on the pitch, it has to be a collective effort. It can't just be me going at it myself.
And there's cliques in that room, right? There's definite cliques. Maybe given the best player with maybe the biggest personality, certainly off the pitch, the armbands brings that together, that cultural reset like you spoke about.
Yeah.